Hello friends and welcome to SUMILIER Talkies. Today we are discussing on impact on the wine sales during COVID lockdowns. A tough time for all of us. We're 8 weeks into the lockdown, something that none of us have found easy to deal with. Everyone across the board has been affected. And to discuss more on this, specifically with respect to wines, I have with me an industry veteran, David Cartwright, who is with us today to address the issue on wine distribution and how they have got affected. To give you a quick introduction, David has been involved with the industry for over 35 years, focusing on the retail marketing side, and his strengths lie on supermarkets and distribution. At the moment, he's working with an importer called Seckford Wine Agencies, and his client coverage and distribution involves some of the UK's top supermarket names, which are Aldi, Tesco, Boots, Waitrose, and Majestic. Welcome, David. Thank you for joining us.
I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for inviting me along, Sumi.
Right. So a question that many of us consumers, including myself, that we are keen to find out is what happened during the first few weeks. We found there was a huge backlog, or whether we call it online queue. Majestic, I'm aware, was running on a 10-day delay. Waitrose also on similar numbers. Things have improved. We're now 8 weeks into lockdown. I think Waitrose's delay has now reduced to 3 days, which is great, fantastic achievement. But I think all of us just deserve a little explanation on what happened and why was this big blockage that happened in the supply chain.
Okay, so for me, as an importer of mostly wines from the New World, although before somebody writes in, South Africa was making wine in 1659, of which I am aware. But we bring in mostly wines from New Zealand, South Africa, and Australia. So there's two issues to bear in mind. Firstly, out-of-country issues, and secondly, let's say in-country or in-market issues. And I note that particular relevance to South Africa, which had 2 lockdowns and is now thankfully out of them. So anybody experiencing issues around South African wines in particular, that was due to the government changes of policy in South Africa. That's now gone back to normal, and suppliers are allowed to export alcohol wine. We had no issues with New Zealand, Australia, and I know that Europe was mostly unaffected, aside from, say, rail depots or wineries that had workers and colleagues who were affected by COVID. In market, what happened, even though the retailers and most people could see what was going to happen, up until the 23rd of March lockdown, retailers normally get 10 months to prepare for an enormous jump in sales and activity called Christmas, or let's say the festive season. Rather than having 10 months to prepare and plan for this this annual occasion, which always happens at the same time, retailers actually found themselves with, say, 10 days or so of time to change their model and, to use the word we're hearing constantly, and I'm sure I'll use it again, to pivot their operational management from strategic to immediate operational. So you found, and in fact in the last 6 weeks, Tesco's have doubled the number of slots that they're delivering to, from 600,000 to 1.2 million.
Are you saying that we consumers are now buying a lot more wine during this COVID-19 lockdown?
So that's a really interesting point. Partly yes, but just building on the original point, is there was an issue around capacity. So there was not enough capacity in the system to deliver what was considered by the retailers to be essential SKUs, or stock keeping units. So wine was very much down the pecking order, not seen as essential, seen as a lot of consumers would see it, as expendable and postponable. Building on your question around online, what has happened is quite dramatic. So aside from those statistics around the major 2 supermarkets in this country, around 25% of all shoppers questioned 4 weeks ago said that they had bought groceries online, and of those 25%, 1/3 of those were new to online. Now, most wine was being bought from, and is being bought still, from supermarkets. So without bombarding your lovely, lovely followers with statistics, so 65% actually of all wine is bought in supermarkets. 9% is being bought online.
And obviously the capacity to deliver also was mightily reduced, I guess, which is why the huge 10-day delay was happening, because there were less people involved in driving, I guess, and to deliver and drop.
Yeah, there was no capacity in terms of drivers and things to drive, or lorries as we call them. But also you've got the two sides of wine purchasing. One is through grocery, or to use industry jargon, a multi-channel operator, such as Waitrose or Tesco, or again, apologies for the jargon, either pure play retailer. So pure play retailers such as the Wine Society or your local independent wine merchant with their own website. And the grocery sale, wine sold in grocery was much greater than, let's say, pure play. So there is an opportunity for independent merchants to access shoppers who are now totally engaged with wanting to buy online, having, and this is really important, it's quite clear from research done only last week that shoppers, first-time shoppers to online, have really enjoyed the experience.
Brilliant. So this takes us to my next question about online shopping. So has there been a major change in consumer behavior? So it could be in terms of, buying more at one point of time, buying more affordable wines rather than going for fine wines, or buying established brands that they are very secure and comfortable with. So what do you see as the change in us consumers? Because we have changed as well in our buying patterns.
Exactly. I think having just covered the online side, that definitely won't be going away. Actually, what we're seeing is that shoppers are buying more brands in the COVID period. So in the last 8 weeks, shoppers have increased the number of brands that they're buying by around 14%. As you building on your point, if you've got trusted brands in front of you, shoppers are going to have those trusted brands, because what is very crystal clear is that shopper behavior around looking for authenticity, looking for trust, looking for areas which something they don't need to think about. They've got enough stress on their mind with what's going on. They want trust, and that might be their that might be their washing up liquid, and that relates the same to wines. So the top 5 brands in the UK market have all increased their market share over the last 8 weeks faster than the rest of the market.
And these include brands such as
Yellowtail, such as Barefoot, for example, such as those sorts of brands, and also those brands which actually have got they've got many SKUs, or sorry, stock keeping unit, many different varietals. So we know Yellowtail launched Malbec 2 years ago. That's gone phenomenally well. Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, etc., etc. Other major brands in the top 10, Blossom Hill, Hardy's, have not fared so well, and that looks like a combination of probably capacity. These wines are all now bottled in the UK, as you may be aware, as well as having fewer lines on the supermarket shelves.
And my last question was, how are now producers going to change to address this new situation? Is there more demand from millennials, or are millennials and the Generation X, the emerging drinkers, are they cutting down drinking? So do we have different formats now coming into the market, smaller formats? Is that going to be the new normal?
Thank you for using that phrase. I was trying to avoid using that phrase, but thank you for bringing that into the conversation. Health is an angle that's very important, and that's being led by the younger shopper, I would say. We've seen an uptick in sales for lighter wines at around 8 or 9% alcohol, such as the ones from the Doctor's range from New Zealand. We're also seeing an increase in two sides of the format market. Huge upturn in sales of canned wines, 800% for the first 4 weeks of COVID, from a very small base, I have to say. And also a huge uptick around 45–50% in sales of bag-in-box. Shoppers are making less trips to the supermarket. Producers are having to respond to this in terms of their long-term strategy, because you cannot make those changes immediately. But what we are seeing is huge amounts of online engagement. Now that may be one, and there are great examples from the Wine Society, Laithwaites, Waitrose are doing now gin and cocktail making competitions. I know the Wine Society figures talk about hundreds of people tuning in to join in a winemaker Q&A. Now getting 200 people at a winery, much more difficult. On a Zoom or other apps are available, much easier to do. Finding a trigger, finding engagement online is going to be a key to unlock the door to major sales going forward. Asda having 20% of all sales online, that'll never go back to below 20%. Just that, things like that will never change. So
we consumers have kind of created a new era of doing or buying things.
Exactly. Majestic are launching Click and Collect today. They launched Deliveroo partnership on Tuesday.
It's just consolidating and using existing mechanisms of distribution to add on. That's again part of efficiency. I think there is a move towards efficiency everywhere, not just from the consumers, but
transparency, efficiency.
It's good to know how we are changing in the way that we perceive items that we used to think, which we used to not think about, and now we think about all of them a lot more. Everything takes a little bit more thinking. You know, you go to the supermarkets and you think, do I need to buy? Do I? No.
Am I stocking up? Is it for the next 3 days?
The changes that we are seeing are quite varied and wide. In terms of efficiency and responsiveness for the supermarkets, I think that's a major focus for them. For us consumers, a shifting pattern. We're going towards more comfort brands, as we discussed, brands that give us pleasure rather than going on and exploring new things. It's about just staying in that little cocoon and feeling comfortable about it. And wine producers are now responding to the changes in the wine behavior. Obviously, there's new styles of, as you said, can, bag in the box, different packages, formats to make for ease of drinking and also efficiency in buying, perhaps even sustainability to some extent, and the recyclability of the product. Basically, what the lockdown has done is kind of accelerated a lot of the changes that were anyway coming into not just the consumer pattern, but also in the production system. It's just kind of pushed it with through a bit of a jet turbine force. Thank you so much, David. Your insights have been wonderful for us consumers to even have a look into our own buying patterns and behaviors.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you.